Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the go-to platform where faith-driven entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and experts share their stories, wisdom, and expertise to inspire and impact others. This isn't just another interview series. This is a strategic platform designed to amplify the voices of high-level entrepreneurs, which especially includes kingdom entrepreneurs who are making a real difference in their industries. My goal is simple: to serve you, the expert, by giving you a stage to share your message, expand your reach, and create lasting value for others. Through authentic, in-depth conversations, we uncover the real journeys, challenges, and victories behind today's leading experts. Each interview isn't just content. It's a powerful asset that helps you to establish authority, increase visibility, and connect with the right people. So with that, let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode with Expert Interviews with Ken. And today I have very, very special guest, Daniel Baker. And I'm really excited for today's topic that we're going to be going through. It is a very unique topic. And it's one that I've just really been looking forward to. Now, Daniel is a leadership career coach, proving that gaming isn't a waste of time. It's an epic level up training for real world success. After 15 years at a Fortune 500 company, he discovered that the same raid leading skills from MMOs like World of Warcraft, Star Wars, and Final Fantasy XIV, these all helped him land promotions and lead high impact teams. As a founder of Dragonmore XP, Daniel now helps gamers turn their passion into power, transforming in-game skills into career growth, leadership, and unshakable confidence. It's time to game your future. I almost want to say it's time to gamify your future. That sounds really cool. But anyhow,
and that's part of it too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I love it.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. So Daniel, I'm actually going to turn it all over to you, the microphone over to you. Share your story. How is it that you got here? How is it that you made this discovery? And now using gamer skills in your own business life and then teaching people how to do the same thing.
Well, yeah, quite the journey for sure. Thank you, Ken. I guess you kind of mentioned there in the bio initially, and just to kind of take it back, to take it back even further, right? I was growing up as a kid, right? Grew up Nintendo generation. Favorite games on that, like the old like Legend of Zeldas and the old Final Fantasies on the Nintendo, Super Nintendo. Always had this love for gaming, and was always kind of, whether it was societal pressure, like parents didn't, they didn't mind as much that I guess I played, and there was some good structure around it, but it wasn't like they encouraged it to like be a career or anything. So it was mostly the societal pressure that says, go get a real job.
Right.
So I did what you were supposed to. And I was kind of on autopilot as, for a while, because I was just like, okay, well, gaming's the hobby. So, but I'll go and get a real job. And so but I still wanted to do something with gaming. So I ended up as like an assistant manager of a GameStop. And that was okay for a while, and then got further encouraged by family and friends to be like, is that all you're going to do? You should go back to school. I was like, oh, okay. So I did what you're supposed to do. I went back to school, got my MBA, got out and got, quote, a real job, right? Working in corporate America. And it was interesting too, because it all seemed like it was the right decision, right? It felt right at the time. Because when I even applied for the job and going through the interview process, right? And you got to remember, I was a gamer. Everything, it was always games for me. And so much so that, when I talk about like the Final Fantasy Nintendo, I realized after a while, I'm like, oh, all these, like what's this about? It's like, where do these come from? It's like, oh, these are Japanese companies. So I was like, maybe there's something to this Japan thing. So I had this interest in Japan. So I even studied abroad in college. with this to Japan because of just this interest, and I loved it, and came back, graduated, and everything, and now I'm back on autopilot doing what you're supposed to. So I get to the interview, and sure enough, they're like, everything that I had gone to school for like supply chain, which is what that 15-year corporate job at a Fortune 500 company was. That was it, right? So I was like, all right, I'm doing supply chain. And it all felt right because even in the interview, they're like, hey, you're going to work with Japanese suppliers. I'm like, yes, that's cool. I love Japan. This is fantastic. And they're like, yeah, it felt so right because they're like, yeah, we have two of these suppliers. One of them's up in Akita and the other one's in Tokyo. Well, it's not really Tokyo. It's in this small suburb called Mitaka. And probably nobody knows where that is. I knew exactly where that was because that's where I went to school for a year. I was
Right.
like, well, okay, so everything's lined up perfectly. Fast forward. Now I've been in corporate for a while, and again, I want to stick with its supply chain and these Japanese suppliers. And in corporate America, you kind of have to do this rotational program if you want to kind of move up. That's kind of the fast track. So I kind of skipped that, and so I was kind of passed over for promotion. But it got to the point where I was like, hey, I feel like I should be earning more. So maybe, and the only real way to do that was to get promoted, right? So I go to my boss and I say, okay, hey, I'm looking to get a raise and I'm looking for more responsibility and promotion. I'm ready. And I'll never forget what he said because he said, well, we just don't see your leadership potential.
Mm.
And I was crushed. I was just like, oh, I don't understand corporate leadership. This is ridiculous. I'm going to have to go figure this out. This sucks. And around that same time, I was playing a lot of games, of course, still, into my adult life. And the game I was playing at the time that you mentioned, Star Wars: The Old Republic, which, the MMO one.
Yeah.
Uh, and I was playing with a group of friends and family, and we were doing the hardest content, right? We were doing the in-game raids, as they're called, and which in that game, the highest version was called like nightmare difficulty, right? So we're doing these nightmare difficulty raids, and it's like a team of like 8 people, and we're sitting there. And so in the back of my mind from work, I'm like, oh, I just don't understand corporate leadership. And we were doing this high-end content, and we were wiping on this one particular boss. For those that ever played the game, it was in Denova, and it was Nightmare Kephis. And those that know that guy was ridiculous. He had so much he would throw at you, and it was just mind-numbing how crazy he was. And so we wiped, as like our party just wiped, died for weeks and weeks and weeks, right? So we're trying to beat this guy, and we just like cannot do it.
Mm.
And we're just slowly changing and trying to figure things out. And so sure enough, we finally beat him. Weeks later, we finally beat him. I was like, oh, this has been amazing. And one of my team, pipes in, right? Because I'm kind of like organizing all the raids and stuff, and the guild leader, and he pipes up to me and says, like, we did it. I'm like, yeah, I know, this is fantastic. He's like, no, you don't get it. We're number two. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, I was tracking on the forums, like the other guilds and stuff. Like, we're number two on this server, right? We're in like the top 1% of the world. I was like, oh, this is awesome, Daniel. Thanks so much. You've been such a great leader.
Mm.
And then it started to click. I was like, wait a minute. He didn't say guild leader. He didn't say raid leader. He said leader. And that was it. I was like, wait a minute. Leadership is leadership. I just need to take what I've been doing, what I've been learning, running raids, leading a guild in this game, in an MMO. And what if I just took that to work? Like, sure, some of the vernacular might change a little bit, but still, leadership is leadership. And so, sure enough, I started applying what I learned in an MMO in Star Wars: The Old Republic at the time. And I applied it at work, working with, cross-functional teams initially, and then like to the point of leading my own teams. And I got a promotion and I got a raise. I think it was like a 30% raise. It was everything I looked for. And it was all within like 3 months. And it
Mm.
was like, holy crap. And so even my boss at the time were like, wow, you really picked up on like these leadership skills and like you really trained up quick. I'm like, yeah, they didn't know that it was like I had already done this for years. I just had to, it was just this small little shift of saying like what I've learned in games helped me in my corporate career.
Mm.
And now you have to think fast forward a few more years. Uh, you know, typical, I think, unfortunately, sometimes in corporate America, where it's do more with less. It was like layoffs. And so I was always in a safe position. I feel like, working with these Japanese suppliers, I was always this go-to guy for this. But it was always like, oh, well, we're going to lay off some staff. So we're going to give you more responsibility, more responsibility. And it's like, well, and travel to Japan is kind of expensive. So we're going to dial back the amount that you travel. So I got to work less with, my Japanese suppliers. That was like the whole reason I joined the company. So I started getting more disillusioned with corporate America, and I was like, maybe I should, I got this kind of entrepreneurial bug. And I can tell you the quick story about how that started too, if you want.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah. So again, while working that job, so yeah, I mean, it was not all like rainbows and roses or whatever. So like we had some issues, of course, with the supplier on occasion. And this was the particular time. So again, it was like years later at this point where I'm doing well in the career. I've moved up, and it's like okay, but now the supplier they effed up. Let's be real. They dropped the ball on something, and again, we're talking Japan. We're talking like a 14-hour time difference. So they're like, hey, we need to have conference calls with these guys, and we need to fix this. It's like, well, that means that the conference calls are either super early in the morning or super late at night. And so we opted for the night because we needed to talk to them for the long time. And then because if we did our early, they would go to bed by the time we were done talking. So we're like, okay. So we ended up doing conference calls in the evenings. And then it went on for like 2 weeks straight. Like that's how much it caused a problem on our end for like our customers and stuff. So like, we had 2 weeks straight of just these like nightly conference calls. So you're talking like, 14-hour days, like trying to you just be on the phone and then like you have time for dinner and then you have to get back on the phone and you're like, oh, this is ridiculous.
Right.
And I'll never forget, I was complaining to my boss at the time. And fortunately for me, I had a good boss. So it was camaraderie. I was just kind of venting to him. And I was just like, oh, this is ridiculous. I can't believe they screwed us over like this. I can't, like, I didn't want to do all these nightly conference calls. I can't believe they did this to me. And I'll never forget what he said. Because he said, well, this is the life we chose. And I said, yeah, but that's not how I felt inside.
It's gonna be
And
like not so much.
yeah, exactly. I was like, no, I didn't choose this. I didn't choose for the suppliers to screw me over. I didn't choose to have all these calls. This is not my choice. And then I kind of paused and I was like, wait a minute. Even internally, I was like, wait, I did choose this. I chose by not choosing.
Mhm.
It's like I said, I was on autopilot. I did what you were supposed to do. And I got the degree. I got the job. And so I felt like I was on autopilot and it was just like, wait a minute, this is my wake up call. It's like, no, I should be doing something. Like this isn't what I wanted. Like I need to take back control. So that was kind of the start of my entrepreneurial journey to say like, okay, I need to do something. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm going to figure it out. And then after a while, I came to this decision where it's like, well, wait, what I just did for myself? Well, like I was able to use skills that I learned in a game to further my career. Can I do that for other people? And that's how I ended up here as the founder of Dragonmore XP. And that's really the mission is to just help, professionals, help business owners, just anyone get ahead, realize their full potential through gaming. So that's what I'm on a mission to do.
That is amazing. Now, curious question, because I actually love the name. Plus, I guess it kind of rings for me because I'm the person we discussed this on our pre-interview. I love one of my favorite all-time childhood games was Dragon Warrior. And
Yes.
yeah, loved, and still love that game. But so how did you come up with the name Dragonmore XP? Because I love that name.
Yes. Dragonmore is a unique name to myself. I know there's a few other people that try to use it online, but Dragonmore was originally like my character that I created that I used in a lot of different media. I think the first use of it was actually in D&D. And to date myself, and back in the day, I think that meant advanced Dungeons and Dragons, as in Dungeons and Dragons Second Edition, is when I
Oh,
started playing, and uh, and I created a character, and the character was yeah, I had a few with the same family name. I think the most powerful one I ever had was Terra. So I had Terra Dragonmore was the character name, and so I've used Dragonmore in virtually everything I've done since. So it was really just like a cool D&D name,
Mhm.
because I was very into like dragons and all that stuff. And and funny enough, kind of a coincidence, but it wasn't really on purpose. But like, one of my friends that actually was the DM, his last name was Moore. So like, so I knew that Moore was great for a last name because it was my friend. So I was like, Dragonmore, this will work great. Uh, so that's kind of where the Dragonmore part came from. So that's been kind of like a gamer alias since, gosh, that was at least high school or earlier.
Wow.
And then the XP part is just that's kind of that's I'll say probably the obvious tone is the gaming element of it, right? The experience points,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
also
I was
the
just like, I was thinking, I'm like, that sounds like, yeah, gaming experience. So yeah.
sounds like experience points, and it is, and it's also the double meaning for experience, as in like so because what I do is experience products, meaning kind of a more in-depth or a more full version of a gamified system, right? You've heard of maybe gamification. And so gamification is usually just kind of adding game elements to something to try to drive engagement. And kind of the next step of that, and I've had mentors help me with this too, is that not even from the non-gaming world, where you take that and actually up level that even more and you call it an experience product. So
Hmm.
that's kind of where it's at. So it's not only experience points from the game, but it's also experience products.
I love that. I love that. I used to, so when I play, and I still do, but not so much anymore. But when I used to play, what is it called? Diablo. Um,
Diablo. Uh-huh.
yeah, my characters, I would always name them like real dark names. So Dragon's Blood. I think I even had one named Dark Shadow or something like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm kind of more attracted to that kind of stuff. So I mean, I love it. It's a lot of
Yeah.
fun. So I
And
love,
Diablo's is perfect for that vibe of game too, to have kind of the dragon, the dark elements. So I love that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I love it. Now I'm kind of getting an urge to go play that.
Dust that one off, right?
Oh my
Get
gosh,
back
yeah.
into
Um, so here's a question that so I kind of want to lead back into our topic, kind of more central wise, if you will. Why do you believe the gaming world is an untapped training ground for future leaders, creatives, and business minds? Let's dive a little deeper on that.
Wow, yeah, great question. To me, gaming and gamers, I think, have been a very underserved market, especially in terms of personal growth, and then as a result, career growth. And what I always found interesting, maybe weird, is that why we put down gamers so much. So like,
Mhm.
because it's always been this like amazing group of individuals. Of course, sure, maybe a little biased, but like having worked and like played with people that are gamers, and every time when I've in a business situation where there is somebody that I'm working with that is also a gamer, there's an instant camaraderie there. And I know based on some of the games they played and the genres of the game they played, certain skill sets that they might have as a result. And so this is kind of where I'm headed with as part of this with Dragonmore XP is to kind of channel this to say, depending on the games you've played, you have certain tangible and soft skills as a result of that.
Mm,
And I think people don't realize this because, again, it goes back to what you said at the beginning, as far as proving that gaming isn't a waste of time.
right.
Because I've never thought of it as such. Because even at its most fundamental, right? Even at like the societal understanding of it, what is gaming? It's entertainment. It's an escape,
Yeah.
which has some value to it inherently as well. So I always thought like waste of time. I was like, wait a minute, everybody uses it as escape just like they do movies or something. But gaming is much more visceral. It's much more immersive and it's much more engaging. So it was always strange to me that people would binge Netflix for 10 hours and then say that 2 hours of gaming is a waste of time. I'm like,
Right.
wait a minute. What are you talking about? Because not only does that sound ridiculous to me, it's also just proving the fact that games and gaming can teach you skills because you're interacting with the medium. And so one of the things that I know for certain is that every gamer listening, I know 100% has problem solving skills. I
Mhm.
know that for a fact because we do it for fun. That's a lot of what gaming is just overcoming challenges, overcoming levels, overcoming bosses and puzzles. That's that's problem solving. That's all it is.
It
I
is.
mean, we take like, sports is a fun example. I love like the example of golf, right? Because you learn to golf and you're like, you have to hit the small ball with a club with a stick to get it to go in the hole. It'd be so much easier to just walk up and put the ball in the hole. But that's
Right.
not what we do.
No.
We make it fun and interesting and challenging and learn how to play with a stick. Okay.
We put a flag, uh,
We put a
quite a,
flag
quite
300 yards away.
to give you hope, right? Um,
Yes. You've heard that joke too. Yep.
oh yeah, Robin Williams does a wonderful comedy bit on the
Yes,
adventures
that's
of
who it was.
golf.
Robin Williams. Thank you.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that video when I remember when I first saw it, I'm just like, that is freaking brilliant.
It is brilliant. So I love that. Yeah. So for those that haven't seen it, yeah, definitely watch Robin Williams golf, and his rant on golf is hilarious. And that's what I like to equate to like gaming, where it's just like, no, that's what games do. Is like it's inherently built to have these challenges and these problems and these obstacles because solving them is fun. You also
Exactly.
happen to be building a problem solving skill as a result.
So, can you give me a couple examples on what that would look like, using problem-solving skills that you acquired in a game, and then now bringing it into the business life?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a quick example I have is I guess anyone that plays, like whether it's Dragon Warrior, any of these, or Final Fantasy, all the RPGs, especially, there's a sense of yeah, so the problem solving around item usage, and part of this also in like kind of expands into inventory management as a result, where you have a limited amount of resources that you have to spend to achieve your goal, right? So like I only have so many potions that I can heal myself before I can get to like the next town or whatever it is. So you have to be able to allocate your resources effectively in the time that you have, right? And I'd say it even goes deeper with the just, gosh, even just like the simple HP bar, right? Your health points and your magic points, your MP, right, are kind of two resources that you need to make sure that you manage until you get to, and beat the
Yeah,
boss, right? So all gamers that play RPGs know you don't blow all your big spells and waste all your MP before you get to the boss, right? It's like, yeah, you could absolutely destroy the little trash monsters with
yeah,
your big spells, but you never do because you know that you have to save that for when you get to the boss. And it's just something that very intuitively we understand in games, but then when we get out into resource management in a company, it's understanding the budgets the way they are and making sure that you can spend within that. And if there's certain things that you can do to change, say, oh, well, we can get a lot more bang for our buck, as they say, for like certain things that you do. And so the gamers will intuit out to be like, okay, what's the most value for the least amount of cost? Because that's what I need to be doing. I think that's a fun example. And to give you a really fun real world example, have you heard of the game called Fold It?
actually, no, never heard of it.
So for Fold It, for those that don't know, I think it was created by the University of Washington and is a protein folding game. So it was created by scientists. And so taking problem solving from gaming, they gamified the folding of proteins. And they put it in this game like, and so we talk like gamification as in like, taking game elements and putting it onto real world things. This is a step beyond that. This is taking protein folding and putting it into a game.
What
So this is
is
very
protein
real.
folding?
Protein folding is, so my limited biology understanding is just a term for basically bioengineering the proteins to get them to do what you want them to,
Okay,
right? So they call it folding, but it's really the manipulation of proteins to get a result. So okay, so there's like a wide range of like variables as far as like what you can change and how things affect what. So what's interesting about that is that because it's this multivariable kind of system, AI is not good at doing that, but humans are. Humans can see changes happening and see the results and can intuit out more quickly than an AI trying to go through like lines and lines of calculation to figure it out. Humans can intuit and understand more easily how to fold proteins than a computer does. So they said, okay, well, how can we use this, you know, human element to like get more input, more output, I guess, rather, for folding proteins? And they put a specific problem in there that they had a problem with, which was, for those that remember when HIV/AIDS was much more of a big thing, much more of an issue back in I guess the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s.
Mhm.
And you don't really hear, like, it's still around, but you don't hear nearly as much about AIDS anymore. That's because of Fold It. Because what happens is that they had an issue that they were trying to solve with HIV/AIDS, and they were like, "Hey, we're working on this new medication to really slow down and prevent the spread of AIDS, and we're going to put it into this Fold It because it stumped scientists. Like they could not figure out what to do, and I think it went on for, I want to say it was like 10 years. They were stumped. They could not figure out how to get this protein to work the way they wanted it to get the medication out. So stumped for 10 years. So they said, let's put it into this gamified system. Let's put it into this game called Fold It. So it was publicly available and you could play for free, right? Because it was like this, helping science kind of thing. So they didn't even charge for it. So they put it into Fold It and they said, all right, we'll let the world, anyone who wants to play, can try to solve folding this protein, which will help with AIDS medications. And it was solved.
Interesting.
Not only was it solved, it stumped scientists for 10 years. Once they turned it on and folded, it was solved in 10 days.
Wow.
And it's an amazing, amazing credit to the power of gamification. And you might hear that example too. And there's definitely people that credit that. And I completely echo what amazing things gamification can do. I go still one step further. It was also an amazing testament to gamers
Mm.
because when they interview the people that did it, like the people that, so because there was people that solved it, and then more and more people solved it to kind of corroborate the information, and to really get like all the peer review, if you will, to say like yes, this is 100%. There's like now there's thousands of people that have said it. This is the way to do it. But the first people that solved it were gamers
Of course.
because they understood. They had the problem solving skills from their years of experience playing games. Now they're in their element and they're just solving the protein problem. And they were able to solve a, again, scientists, PhDs couldn't solve it in 10 years. Gamers solved it in 10 days.
I love that. And I've actually never heard of that. I never knew that. So that's kind of like a whoa moment for me. I'm going, oh, that's kind of cool to hear about that kind of stuff. I never knew that.
Yeah,
Um,
so definitely check that out. That's like I said, the game is called Fold It. And like I said, I think it was by the University of Washington that put that out. And you can check out gosh, as of this recording, I think it's even like 10 to 15-year-old story at this point. But it's just the power of gaming and gamification at the time.
that's so cool, actually. Now, for somebody who thinks their gaming time has no career value, how would you help them to extract the language, those skills for like a resume, for an interview, for a business pitch? How would you help them to transfer like that information into the real business world? Does that make sense?
Yes, oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the key tenets that I do is as part of the Dragonmore XP. So kind of the process that I've created, I call it the skill craft process. And as part of the skill craft system, one of the very first things we do with our clients is we take them through basically the gamer skill tree, right? So gaming, we have skill trees, right? Diablo had skill trees. And so we say like, hey, what's your gamer skill tree? What skills do you have in gaming? And we take at those skills and then we're able to map those to real world skills to say, oh, well, I'm really good. Like we talked about like the MP management, HP management, inventory management, and what real world skills does that go into, right? and a lot of around, especially around the inventory management piece of it. And a lot of these kind of skills, they'll map to very specific business skills, right? Whether it is, problem solving, whether it is inventory and risk management, just simply working with a team, we just call teamwork, right? Or leadership, and just all these different skills that can map to very tangible business skills. And so you go through this process to say, okay, what skills do I have as a gamer? And then that equates to certain skills that you can say, business skills. And then you can take those and then actually, those you can just straight put on your resume because you have experience with those. And then when you get questioned about it, you just put it, unless they ask for specific gaming examples, which they won't ask for gaming examples, you could say that. But especially if you play like MMOs, you can just say it very generic. I worked with a team. We accomplished a problem. We overcame an obstacle, right? If you just use the vague, vernacular that the business, people want to hear,
Mhm.
but it's very real, right? Because it really happened. You overcame a challenge with your friends. Cool. I worked with people to overcome this challenge. Done. So it's
That is
just these
awesome.
kind of skills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's awesome. And I find that fascinating as well because not many, like I said before, not many people are doing this. Not many people are even thinking of it this way. And I wouldn't even think of wording it in such a generic way as you've been able to like develop that for what you teach in people. So it's just that is just it's so amazing. What would you say to parents or leaders who think gaming is always a distraction rather than a development tool? How would you overcome objections?
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's always been the challenge, and it's really getting them to understand the value, right? And
Right.
so that's why I look to things like the folded example as a great, tool to say like, look at how powerful this can be. I would look to and use examples from I guess one of my mentors, I love Yukai Chow. If you know, he's kind of the grandfather of gamification,
Hmm.
and he has an entire process called I think his framework is called octalysis, but uses this his framework for gamification that really helps to drive engagement and performance in people using these fun interesting elements. And he works with not only like business leaders and like again these Fortune 500 companies, these big companies. He works with like world leaders and like political leaders using gamification. And I'm like, if world leaders are using gamification, surely it's okay for the kids to play.
Right, right. Oh my gosh, that's so powerful. Now, here's a little turn and twist in our
Mhm.
conversation. All right. So I played World of Warcraft before. I played StarCraft before. I have done Dragon Warrior, which I really love. Still love that. It's a classic game. Diablo is probably my newest within the last few years. Playing that. How would you? Because I look at all those and I'm like, I was just playing a game. I rarely played online with a bunch of people or anything like that. Most of the time, I just did the regular um I don't know what you call it, the regular journey inside the game or whatever that's called. It that there's a name for it and it's totally slipping my mind, but um I commonly just look at that as just my relaxed time, fun time, and everything else. How would you pull skills from what I've done? Because I don't even remember half the things I did in those games. So how in the world would you pull skills from that?
And yeah, that's absolutely a good question. I'd love to help you go through this because yes, we definitely think a lot of the time, and definitely have clients like yourself that are just like, I play games for fun. How can I have skills when I'm just only having fun? In which I'd argue you actually learn a lot through play, right? And
Right.
learn a lot when you're having fun. And for your specific examples, right? So you mentioned World of Warcraft, Diablo, Dragon Warrior. What was the other one? I think you might have mentioned one more.
StarCraft.
StarCraft. Thank you. Yeah, StarCraft's a whole nother one.
Yeah,
Um,
StarCraft was actually my favorite. Warcraft was I mean it was cool, it was fun.
yeah.
StarCraft was always my favorite.
Gotcha.
back in the years.
So
Yeah.
when I take it, I would definitely lump World of Warcraft and Diablo into a similar bucket, and Dragon Warrior I would loosely associate with that, and a little bit into the RPG bucket, which is a little similar but different. Just for those three, so WoW, Diablo, Dragon Warrior. I know that you have this, the problem solving skills of just simply navigating a world, understanding, and intuiting just even the interface, right? So you have to figure out how to get around. You have to figure out where to go and navigate yourself there to whatever you're trying to do. I know you have an understanding of like resource management, especially around monetary, right?
Hmm.
Because there's a lot of things in games that require money, and you have to have enough money, which means that you have to go and find certain places to get you money if you don't have enough,
Right.
right? So you can intuit kind of the currency system. So understanding the flow of money, so economics, that's all that is.
Interesting. I just never thought of it that way. Keep going.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, inventory management, Diablo especially, and World of Warcraft, like, you can only carry so much. So
Yeah.
what do we drop? What do we get rid of? What do we sell? And understanding therefore the value of things, right? What sells for the most? What do I keep? What do I drop? And so being able to very quickly understand and say like, oh, this is a big item or it weighs a lot, like Diablo, especially, it takes up too much space and it's only worth like 10 gold. Whereas this tiny little thing is worth 500 gold. Which one are you going to keep, right? Which one are you going to drop? Like as a gamer, you understand that real quick, but I'm like, hey, that's inventory management. It's understanding the value of, and also kind of the market system as far as like buying and selling, like what is worth more, what's worth less, making sure you know what to keep and what to sell. And then I would move to StarCraft. I would say like that's a whole nother one because RTS games, now you're talking critical thinking and strategic thinking because you have to be able to plan out ahead. Say because you have to think much more further ahead to be like, okay, I need to create a certain army in a certain way. So like I want to make sure I have these strengths and these things that synergize well together. I need to have, these units with these units, which means I need to get these resources and these resources and knowing when to expand to go get more resources versus, being able to, and also the situational awareness to understand what's happening and where. It's like, all right, is it time to expand or is it time to fight? Is it time to defend? These are all things that, and also quick decision making, because you have to also do all of that in a split second. Because if you see something coming, you're like, I have to immediately change what I'm doing. So quick decision making is always a gamer strength, I think, as well, especially with the high speed games, whether it's RTS or FPS.
You're right. It's funny. So there's a couple of things that's coming to my mind. Whenever I used to play, um, StarCraft is a perfect example of this. Whenever I used to play it with a friend, and we would so-called team up, I would get so mad at him because what would often happen is through the game, he would be my friend, my buddy, and help me out. And then on the back end, without me even knowing, he's building this big old giant force. And then towards the end, like he would come in and just wipe everything out of mine. And I always got so pissed off at that. I'm like, how the freaking crap are you doing that? It's like, how are you getting all this stuff? Um, yeah. So that's one of the reasons why I normally played those games, just the campaigns. That's the word I was wanting to use
Yes.
earlier.
Yes. Yep.
Campaigns. The in-game campaigns. That's why I only played those by myself most of the time because it's kind of like the game of Halo. I never really got into it because every time I would play with other people, I would become the peon that got shot all the time, and it wasn't fun for me.
And
So,
get spawn camped and you're like, oh yeah,
yeah,
because everybody's, the different skill levels within the same game are kind of wild sometimes for sure. But
and
no, completely understand. So like, because multiplayer is a whole different thing from single player, right? Because
yeah,
and it requires a different skill set as a result, right? Having that the very much more on the quick micro management of your units and the very quick decision making and having like the very specific builds that you want to do versus you know I'd say the campaigns are I also am that kind of person, like a little bit more fun because they're a little bit more easygoing for that, but still trying to understand and how to overcome the AI and their whole setup too, right? So it's
Yeah.
just different.
And I think I was either, I think it was StarCraft as well. What I would do is I would actually go in. So they had a place where you can go in, you can create your own map, you can create your own like island and different things like that. So I actually figured out how to go in and design a map that gave me the advantage. So there was only
Uh-huh.
one access point to my camp, only one, unless they flew in over. But even that, like I had stuff, you
Yeah.
know. And so I would take that access point and I would build out bunkers and all kinds of stuff so that if they did get at least halfway through, they would have died by the time they got to my camp because all those bunkers kept shooting at them. So
Yep.
I think I did learn that strategy through a friend of mine as I watched him, and I was like, "Ooh, that's a great strategy. I wonder if I can build a map to help me do that." So I remember I
Yep.
would do things like that, and then the other thing that came to my mind as well with Dragon Warrior is so the little slime guys, the guys that you first start, fighting in the beginning, they're like these little balls of, I guess,
Yeah,
slime.
the little blue slime guys. Yep.
Yeah. There was one that if you really knew how to look for it, I think it was one that it was either it gave you a whole bunch of gold or it gave you a whole bunch of experience.
The metal slimes.
The
Yeah, they give you
metal
lots of
slimes.
they give you
Yeah,
a lot of experience. Yes, I remember.
I would go search for those. Just the metal ones
Yeah.
to get my experience up there quicker than
Hmm.
normal. I would specifically go out there hunting for those metal slimes.
And that's what I love that about games too. And so again, everybody plays a little bit different. That was my thing too, is I love that kind of efficiency side of it. For like how can I do it better, faster, stronger?
Yeah,
And the for the sake of efficiency, that's what a lot of gamers will find. It's like, okay, what can get me the most powerful the quickest, right?
yeah,
Because I mean, we like to play games, sure, and we'll spend hours playing it, but at the same time, you want to progress, right? And that's what we haven't really talked about yet, is games give you a sense of progression, like a sense of growth.
100%.
And there's nothing more fun to me in a game than progressing and progressing more quickly than other people or like other people thought you should have, right? Or even though the developers intended. And so like the metal slimes is a great example where, gamers will see that and be like, oh, well, if I find metal slimes instead of like the normal monsters I fight, I'll level up like 3 times as fast. So that's why, like you said, in your example, why you went and go hunt for the metal slimes, because you know that if you find them, you'll level up more quickly.
Yeah, exactly. Which then, I was able to fight bigger people, get more gold, and different things like that. And then I remember back in the day when they actually had a magazine all about Dragon Warrior, and it had like all kinds of secret things that you can find and stuff. I remember discovering how to find, what was it, Eric's army or armor, Eric's armor.
Yeah, Eric's armor, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And where
You
that
go,
was hidden and located, that was crazy too. I think I
yeah, you had to
died.
get like what the very specific place in the ruined city and like had to fight the big guy. Like, yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
that one too.
Oh my gosh, all the things. So now you're like triggering like all these memories in my head.
Hmm.
So
I love
um
it. Yeah.
that is amazing. So what are here's a question I want to ask you. What are some other things that you want to share around this particular topic that maybe we haven't touched on yet before we start wrapping up?
Sure. I did want to go back and kind of expand on the other point regarding whether it's parents or business leaders and how they think about games, right? And I touched on like the very positive aspects of it, right? I'm a very
Mhm.
optimistic person. I know there's going to be people that think the pessimistic side, and I did want to address that.
Please.
The people that are like, yeah, so the people that say like, okay, well, but gaming's very addictive, or the people that think that gaming is violent, right? And it creates violent behavior. And I have the good news there is it does not. So there has been studies and research shown that, violent video games do not create violent behavior. Think of it as like maybe a magnifying glass, is that if someone has violent tendencies, it could exacerbate it.
Hmm.
Same way with addicting. Yeah, if you have an addictive behavior, it may, magnify that, and because games can be addicting, but like they're not inherently addictive. It's not like morphine or something like, play video games and you're suddenly hooked. Like it's not like that. So part of that is just to kind of dispel those kind of rumors that it doesn't create violent kids. It does not create addictive behavior. And if you see that, and that's one of the things, but if you do have, if you do see some potential tendencies there, um, it is okay to regulate it, right? It's one of those things that says, even in my childhood, like gaming was seen as kind of a reward, right? And for those parenting, like, yes, let your kids play games, don't let them play all the time, right? Because you want a well-rounded individual, you want a
Yeah.
well-rounded kids. So yes, I would play, like, Saturday was like Saturday morning cartoons and video games. I love my Saturdays.
Oh my gosh, Saturday morning cartoons and video games. That is the perfect segment. That yeah, no, me too.
Exactly.
Oh my
Exactly
gosh.
right. And then, but during the weekdays, I we got into a habit where, like I would love to play video games, and then, not surprisingly, if I played too much, my grades would suffer at school.
Yeah.
And so kudos to my parents for putting a little bit more restriction and limit around it to say, hey, did you finish your homework? Because you weren't allowed to play video games until you finished. Right. And so having these kind of like structured, give it structured playtime in the sense of like, you don't have to structure every minute of their day, but like when it's time for free time, let them play their games, right? But and making sure that they're getting what they, being responsible and actually doing what they're supposed to, right? Are they getting good grades? Are they studying and doing their homework? Then they can play games. So that's how I encourage it to say, like, you don't have to just let them sit in their room and just play all hours of the day and just say, like, yep, that's that's what Daniel told me, is they have to play video games all day. It's like, no, when they're playing, they're learning, yes, but having that structured time and making sure that they're responsible outside of that, completely okay and encouraged. Do that, because that's what happened to me. I think I turned out okay, and my mom was very strict about not doing video games until you finish your homework.
That sounds like sound advice to me for sure. Um, I remember it was a few, I think it was around 2020, somewhere around there. I remember I saw this video online and I just remember sitting there because it had a shock factor to it. And I just remember sitting there like going, what would have that done to me if my parents did something like that to me? So it was a
Hmm.
video of a father who had had enough of the kid playing games all the time. And apparently the kid was kind of building in a game to where eventually he would be able to make money with it, apparently is the backdrop story of it.
Okay.
Well, the father didn't understand that and didn't care. And the father took the kid's Xbox and all the games out in the yard and ran over it with his big old giant lawnmower. And the kid, like, you can tell the kid was absolutely devastated, broken, didn't know exactly. He was beside himself. He didn't know what to do, how to act, and I mean, he lost it. Um, and like I said, there was a shock factor to it, and that was the shock factor. I was just like, what in the world are you? I mean, it's things like that that like I don't know. It kind of makes me shake my head, at parents that approach it that way. It should not be approached that way. What would your thought if you saw that video, which you might have had? I mean, I don't know, but if
I
you saw
I
that
think I
video,
have seen that. Yeah, it's one of the traumatic videos. So like, until you mentioned it, I was like, man, I think I forgot about that video,
yeah,
because I would have. Yeah, so like my reaction, yeah, I would have been beside myself too. It's because it depends, the severity of it based on, there's a lot of circumstance around it. Because I'll say the short version is, what a terrible parent.
yeah,
That is not the way
exactly.
to handle it, and for a multitude of reasons depending on circumstance. Because the best case scenario is that you're basically saying that your hobby is worthless, right? Your time is not valuable, right? You're a terrible human being for what you like. That's the best case. And we talk slightly worse case is that what if the kid actually bought it with their own money? And now you've destroyed like their property that, I worked hard and I, ran my lemonade stand, whatever, like depending on the age, whatever. So they use their own money to buy it and you're destroying their stuff. And they're like, so it doesn't matter if I work hard, my stuff gets destroyed. What a great lesson that you just taught them.
Yeah, exactly.
To the point of also, and then the time investment, right? So playing games and having like your save file destroyed, like you've invested hours and hours in the game to progress to a certain point, right? So like if somebody took like your Dragon Warrior, your Diablo character, your World of Warcraft character and deleted it, hours and hours and hours of just time and energy to build that just gone. And to the other example you mentioned, what if they were actually building it to make money? Like, hey, I'm going to be able to sell my, modded stuff on like the workshop or something. Or, maybe I'm going to stream eventually. So I have all like these assets that I'm working that building so that I'm going to be able to actually make an income off this. Destroyed. What kind of a message are you sending?
Yeah. So that's the
So
thing
yeah,
that
my reaction completely off the rails. Just yeah.
yeah, that's what I think a lot of parents don't realize. And I really respect the parents out there that have a well-rounded balance. And the rebel in me just does not respect the ones that are just like, and they're like that. I don't resonate with it. So
Right. And the the hardest that I want to say that well, and I'll turn it around. The easiest way to solve that is to just have that empathy, just to put yourself in their shoes. And by that I mean don't necessarily say like, oh, what if I was playing the game? Because yeah, the parent obviously doesn't value the game. Turn it slightly. What if it was your hobby? What if it was, and pick whatever the parent is like, is it, gardening? Is it just like, is it, work, woodworking, leather? What was that parent's hobby? And take the same thing and use the same analogy. Be like, what if I took, and so I don't know what the hobby was of that particular parent. Let's call it woodworking. And I say like, all right, well, I'm just going to go into your shed with a sledgehammer and I'm just going to take everything that you've been working on and just slam the crap out of it. So much so that I destroy the shed that you were working in too. Not only everything in it, but the entire shed. Because that's what destroying the console is. Like the actual Xbox, that's where everything's housed. But just put that in that feeling, right? So that you can have empathy for the kid to be like, oh, this is how they would feel. This is how they're feeling if you destroy their stuff.
mm-hmm.
Suddenly you might have a little bit more understanding for it. That's all it is.
100%.
And at the same time, compare it to other entertainment. If that's all you think it is, compare it to movies. If I just took your entire, DVD player and all your DVD collection and ran over it with a mower, what would you think then? I'm like,
Wow. Yeah. No.
I hate entertainment and movies. I will never see another movie again. I'm like, what?
I
I
think
don't know
there's
anyone in the world that's like, I hate movies.
yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I'm trying to say here is there's a way to do discipline and have it be not something that's traumatizing.
Yes. Yes, and take me as the example. Use gaming as the reward, not the punishment. Like, hey,
Right.
we're gonna destroy your stuff because you're not doing it because I don't like it. But turn it around, like limit the game time, right? The punishment is not destroy it, but take it away temporarily. Just say like, wow, you're not doing what I asked you to do. You're not making good grades at school. Guess this is a problem. I'm going to take it and put it in a closet for a few weeks until you get your grades back up. Like,
That's
okay,
reasonable, right? I mean, that's
reasonable.
totally
Way
reasonable.
less traumatizing,
Oh my
right?
gosh. Yeah. Yeah, I had
It's
to bring in
it's
that
that sense.
story.
Yeah, it's that sense of permanence, that permanent loss. I think that creates way more trauma as a result.
And
And it's like
probably
just
trauma that none of us have realized yet that he carried with him in the rest of his life.
oh, 100%. Like imagine his sense of trust is destroyed.
Yeah.
And just any sense of ownership, right? It's like that is a kid that will grow up thinking that I'm not allowed to own anything. That's the trauma because it'll get destroyed or taken away. I can guarantee you that.
And he will be
And I feel
beaten.
for that person. I hope they're doing okay and they have some
I
therapy
know,
to work through
right?
that trauma.
And also, later on in the years, he's never going to raise up as a leader because he thinks he's going to get defeated all the time. He thinks that yeah, no,
Yep.
it's
You have
just
that defeatist attitude as a result. Yeah.
such a poor example as a parent. But anyhow, all right.
It,
So wrapping up
it's
here,
it's a great example though, so I'm glad you brought it in.
thank you. I had to. It came to my mind, and I was just like, "Ooh, let's talk about that too." Um, so, in wrapping up here, what are 3 to 5 powerful things that you would like to leave the listeners with today?
Gosh, how to sum it up in just a few words. The very simple would be gaming is creating career skills, creating tangible, valuable skills. That would be one.
Hmm.
Uh, I think second one. Let's go to the parents. Let's go to the leaders and say it's okay to let your kids play games. They are creating. Not only is it entertaining and fun, but they are creating these valuable skills. They're becoming better people as a result,
Mhm.
right? I didn't realize how like I felt like sometimes far ahead I was in like these problem solving skills where I would get to an answer like minutes before my, schoolmates did. And I just didn't understand. I was like I didn't think they were stupid necessarily or slow. I was just like, how are you not getting this fast? It's just like here. And I didn't realize it was because games were teaching me how to think at this critical thinking much faster as a result. So parents, it's okay to let your kids play games. If you need to structure it, that's fine. But gaming is good. Um,
Man.
and I think the last one I think is gosh, just how to echo the point more. Yeah, so for those again that are looking to move up in your careers, right? And you've played games, go back and look at what you've done in gaming and see how successful you've been.
Hmm.
Because those successes you can carry over into the rest of your lives. To sum it up in maybe a slightly different way, we have, as gamers, we seem to have two selves. We have our work self and then our gamer home self. At the same time, just like I said, leadership is leadership. In the same way, you are you. You bring yourself to work. So it happened to me. I had this kind of split identity, I feel like, in that sense, where I'm like, oh, I have to be like this at work. And now I can be myself at home. But you're still the same person. You can bring that same skill, that same level of energy, that same level of passion to your work if you treat it a little bit more like a game and bring those skills with you.
Amazing. Such valuable stuff. So, you guys, if you liked this interview, first of all, definitely click the like button. And second of all, I would encourage you very strongly reach out to Daniel Baker, get into his world, ask him questions, book a strategy call with him, something, connect with him, because I really do believe he's got a lot of value to bring. And I believe he makes a very powerful and valid point with this whole subject, which is one of the reasons why I was really, really just excited about this interview more so than I have been about a lot of the interviews I've done, just because I love just nobody talks about this. So that's one of the reasons why I, love this interview. So you guys reach out to Daniel. The links to connect with him are going to be in the description below. And just for those who maybe are listening via car or whatever, Daniel, how can people connect with you?
The best way would probably be directly on the website, dragonmorexp.com. And those that go there, if you go to dragonmorexp.com/quest, I have a little fun exercise, a little fun game for that people can go through to learn a little bit more about their gaming skills and how they can transfer into the real world. So that would be the best way. And I am on all the things. So Dragonmore XP on YouTube, and Daniel Baker on LinkedIn, Instagram, all those good things too. But yeah, I'd say the website is probably the best, and then Dragonmore XP on YouTube as well.
Amazing, amazing. You guys, that in the description below, it's going to be, you'll see his bio. Right below his bio is going to be the links to connect with him right there below this video. So definitely reach out to Daniel, connect with him. Lastly, you guys, so maybe you're watching this and you're wondering, who is this Ken guy and what's he doing and what does he do for, work or business or whatever? Well, great question. So I have lost 62.5 pounds and I've been able to keep it off for 7+ years now, all without a diet and having that be sustainable. How? How did I become the 5% of the people and exit out of the 95% that they can't keep their weight off, their weight off? Well, that is because through my journey, every change and every habit had enough time to sink in and become part of who I was and automatic. And right now, I'm giving away my 3 secrets to not only help you lose weight, feel energized, and to get healthy without starving or dieting, but to be able to keep it off like I've been able to. In just 3 short, powerful one-on-one sessions with me through my mini educational bootcamp series, I expose the 3 biggest lies that are keeping people sick, stuck, and overweight, because that's how that industry makes money. And I show them how to fuel their body God's way so that they can finally break free and keep the weight off for life. Time is now. Summer is approaching. Don't wait any longer. Get inside this boot camp. Look, you guys, you got nothing to lose but those extra pounds. You got everything to gain in the right way. And I promise you, you will forever be changed. You will never look at food the same way again coming through this boot camp. And I mean that in a very freeing and empowering way. God did not create food to be a source of deprivation or frustration. So get along to my boot camp. That link will also be below all Daniel's stuff. So you will scroll down below his stuff and you will see the link to join that boot camp, very reasonably priced. And you will also find other links to connect with me as well. Links to connect with me on Facebook, book a free strategy call with me. Hey, that's free. You definitely have nothing to lose there. There you go. So jump aboard, prepare yourself for the summer. Don't wait until you're midway through the summer to do something. That's kind of like saying, I'm gonna do this in the new year. And how has that worked out so far? Anyhow, so I'm not gonna harp on that anymore, you guys. So Daniel, do you have any last minute thoughts before we conclude our interview today?
I think the last thing I would leave people with is, especially for the gamers, anyone that plays, you have all these skills inside of you already, and it's just really just bringing them to the surface. And so one of the things I like to leave people with as a final word is stay awesome.
Oh, love that. Love that. So stay awesome, you guys. All right. So that concludes our interview today. Have a great rest of your day or evening, depending on where you are in the world and what time of day you are listening. And I will catch you on the next expert episode or expert interview with Ken. Talk to you guys later.